loud.
Let me know when you're ready, bud.
Okay, it's recording.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Chris. I'm flattered that you're actually going to bother. So, so anyway, this is our chapter homepage, and you can see that we use the events. We add events here, and we recruit people to join. We send invitations through CCL Community. We track Rsvps. People are able to upload our events into their personal calendars easily. All of that is this kind of functionality in the calendar or the events resource that all of us have access to. You guys have your own chapter. I think most of you may well know that. The degree to which you use it is entirely up to you. So we've enhanced our About Us section. We've got basics about where we would usually be meeting, but for the virus. We also have new volunteer and the basic information about the action tracker and such. We talk about how to avoid having CCL information end up in the junk folder. And then we have our basic activities always available, write Congress, tweet, etc. Our social media links are here. All of the link to all the laser talks, our own monthly agendas and CCL's action sheets. And then, of course, our core values and levers of political will at the bottom.
Edric, are you updating all these things constantly, like the Twitters? I mean,
yeah, we have a social media team that does that stuff.
That manages this page.
No, this page I put together some time ago. This page does not require updating. It is, I'll update it once every few months, maybe at most. What gets updated is the input of our events here in this area, but also you can see down below here, we have our group discussion. So we have a forum that is active as well, where we share information with each other. And I'll take you to that as well. So the dynamism is in our, when we use CCL Community, you're going to post your chapter meetings, and people are going to start sharing amongst each other what's top of mind or what they're working on or the information or the news that they just found. So beyond this, the umbrella group, which is the chapter group itself, we've set up a number of teams, and those teams are focused on areas of activism that will not be news to you guys. So here you have, this is a list of all of our chapter teams. We have a team leader for each of them, our print media team and social media. These are our media groups. Social media is pretty small because you don't need that many for a social media team. And it takes advantage of all the other content that our other teams and our other chapter activities create. Of course, print media is our letters to the editor and op-eds. We have a team for each of our members of Congress. We encourage all constituents to join the team so they can at least passively be aware of what's going on. Presentations and scheduling outreach, tabling outreach, endorsements outreach. And then we also have our student action team. So tabling is dormant, of course. The last thing I'd say is we have a core members team. I use that for, discussions about what we're doing as a group. So this is all of the teams that we have created for our chapter. So while we're here, I'll just take you to a couple of them to show you how we've set them up.
Let me stop you let me say something. Edric, tell us how many members you have that you communicate with.
Well, the chapter has 1,100 members, and of those, most are dormant. So we have less than 400 who have ever attended a meeting, who I would identify as at least occasionally active. And we have in our monthly chapter meeting, we have 20 to 30 people. And that's been consistent, even before COVID, that was roughly the number. Sometimes it went down to 15, but I would say our core members are less than 50. So one of the things that Mark asked me about is how do I use this to communicate with the 1100? And that's been a really interesting experience for me. Because of COVID, I've discovered that, and using CCL community, as you see that we do, when I invite people to our monthly chapter meeting, I invite all 1100. And I've found that some people have connected with us who would never show up to an in-person meeting. And other people have done things like go to regional conferences because they're online. So I looked at the attendance for my chapter, which was not available at the most recent one, but in the previous ones, I got a list of it, and I didn't recognize maybe 10 names. And these are people who are connected with CCL, but we don't see. They might do something. They even show up in my action tracker every once in a while. I'll recognize, I'll realize I have no idea who that person is, but they're calling their member of Congress. God bless them. Anyway, so I think it's good to maintain some connection with those 1100, even if they are very rarely engaging or responding.
So you invite them every month, but do you do more than that? Do you send them any other emails to, or any other contact?
Well, first of all, CCL headquarters communicates with them through the weekly, the flyers that send around, the newsletters, and that's one way that they find activities to do, irrespective of what my chapter is doing. So I try to be very careful not to send out too many emails to my members, because some people are more sensitive to about that than others. So I let's see, I will only send them a direct email, because you can do that using this email function right here, where you can, email everybody who's a member of my chapter. You can see it's to all members. If you want to mail to a subset of your members, you can do email subset. And that allows you to email all your members who are in a certain congressional district or a certain city.
Do you use the subsets?
Yes.
How,
I will communicate to everybody in Congresswoman Barragon's district and ask them to join our monthly calling campaign, or ask them to join our Barragon team at CCL Community. So,
I thought,
yes.
Edric, I thought there were just like 4 or 5 subsets that you could use. It sounds like
Well,
you're using more than that.
well, here's the click to select recipients. This is where you email to a subset. The one thing about the email or in CCL community, it's not good for back and forth. It's good for sending announcements, and when they respond, they would respond to the sender, but not to the entire group. It's one way to kind of protect from overwhelming people with all the back and forth that can happen. But here, Mark, if you add individuals by name, you can type individuals' names, but you can also go by segments. You can send to a chapter, an electoral district, a city, or by interests. Okay. So I can do an electoral district and just, select CA 47, and it'll find everybody who's in, I think that's the right, um, the right breakdown, but it find everybody who's a member. Yeah. So now it finds everybody who's in Congressman Lowenthal's district, and I can email all of them. You just go down to the bottom and you say select all. That's 538 people.
And how does
That, okay, so that's because CCL's designated them as that. Cool.
Oh yeah, this is the CCL database. This is one of the good things about using CCL community is it's all driven by the database of member information. I don't have to have a separate email list that connects with other email or organizing resources.
how does it determine who has what interest?
Well, that is something you input when you join CCL. I think it's rarely used, Chris, so I don't use that myself, even though I put that information in for myself. But you can sort your chapter list based on people who want to do specific things. So if you can look at that real quick here to see what the segments are. You can identify when you sign up for CCL whether you're interested in any of these in particular. And this is something we as group leaders don't tap into, but there's probably some subset of our members who have bothered to fill this out, and I've never used it. And CCL certainly doesn't promote using it because it's kind of an
And it
anomaly.
may have even changed a lot. Like if a member signed up 3 years ago and then they thought they were interested in local resolutions, it could have
Yeah.
changed a lot since then.
That's right.
If
That's
it's
a fair
not
point.
focused on, it could be very out of date for people.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you guys through a couple more things here because my laptop is unfortunately going to run out of juice in a while. So I want to make sure to at least show you these things. So here is our forums for our main chapter. And, you know, you can see, you know, we don't have people posting every day, but, and there's not a lot of replies. You know, there's a certain dynamism that I wish was there that's not. The other thing is all these posts to forums, they go out once in our daily notifications is the default setup. But, you know, in order to really get on people's radar, it really needs to go out a couple of times. So if you want to get something seen by your membership, you got to try to at least get it in front of them, get it emailed to them a couple of times. So that's why, you know, the forum is somewhat limited in its ability to connect with lots of people, but its dynamism is still important to show the life of the chapter, to give your members a way to connect and share when they find something that excites them or is energizing. The other thing is to show is events. We've only got a few events coming up. We haven't got an action team set up yet for May, but you can see our May meeting is here. I haven't set up July because or June because of our national conference conflict. But here you can see where there's an Rsvp function for people to use. Right now, I've only got 2 Rsvps, but we're about to get more because I'm going to send this out. Today, I added in the information about our speaker on the national meeting, guy that used to work with CCL. But here you have, the structure of my invitation, which links them back to this event page, because this is going to show up in an email when I send an invite. I can just, send an invite to everybody. I can do it right now to show you guys how freaking easy it is. Send it to all 1064, one click. I just sent this invitation to everybody.
1,064 people.
Yeah. And the bonus is, I run into problems with Google if I try to do this through my personal email system. So CCL community does this readily. So, I give them the basic structure of the meeting, and then I tell them about the follow-on meeting with CCL headquarters, give them that basic information, give them our Zoom tips for connecting. And, this is the one-stop shop to get everybody to show up.
Well, and let me say this to make this point before we lose you, Edric. These teams that he has in this chapter are active teams. I've talked to people on different teams in this chapter, and I'm in Newport Beach. I'm in a different friggin' chapter, but I've interacted with his people a number of times who are working on endorsements, who are working on giving talks. Sam Daly Harris told us, never do stuff alone. Find somebody to work with. So I think Edric's system, using these forums and all, is apparently bridging some people together.
Yeah. It's important for me. I realize that, things are so limited if they have to run through me. So that's why I have team leaders for all these different subjects. You can look at our Lowenthal team just to show you how I structured that, guys. Here we identify who the team leader is, Bill Nash. We have all the information about Congressman Lowenthal here. His Wikipedia page, our community resources on lobbying, the bios for all the MOCs that CCL puts together, and we rarely link to. We also have a forum for discussion of information specific to the congressman. We don't use the events function, but we've got about 30 members on this team. There are other teams. Our endorsements outreach team is where we connect with the business climate leaders and with our conservative. caucus and all of Craig's good work. You can see we identify the liaisons. We have a grass tops engagement tracker. CCL often comes to us as group leaders and says, hey, we need somebody in your chapter to be a liaison to this important group or a caucus or whatever, you know, and so I've really tried to find that person, because otherwise, you know, I can't go to all those meetings. And here we can get updates from these folks. But as you know, there's all kinds of stuff for endorsements. So, you know, we can provide those links here for team members. And we also have an active forum. And so that's right, Mark. This is an area for people to connect that in a subgroup, you know, that's not quite as ominous as engaging with the whole chapter. So I hope that's somewhat helpful, guys. What are the other?
Chris, did you have a question?
No, but I'm glad this is taped.
Yeah. Oh, that's not.
And yeah, after this meeting's over, I don't want to distract myself too much now, but I think if I bookmark this, any of us could look at this and get ideas about what types of things to put on the team pages for the different action teams. And
yeah,
we can get a lot of ideas about the types of information to put on there and adapt them.
yeah.
Kathy, this is right up your alley. You know,
You can join our chapter,
Right, I think I've tried that before. I think you can be a member of only one chapter at a time. So you could join, look at it, and then join Orange County Coast again afterwards.
I hope that's not true, because I know that I have other members who are also a member of our group here. So, so if you go to this page, hopefully there's an opportunity to join that doesn't disconnect you from your own group. That would be a bummer. But there are other groups here at CCL Community, like our California group that I'm a member of. So I'm soon to run out of energy, guys. Certainly
Edric,
curious.
thank you.
I'm happy to stop share so you can see each
I
other.
think Chris had one question.
Yeah.
Real quick, those 1,000 people, you know that they're still getting emails, they're still members? How do you know that?
Yeah, well, they're still members because they're in the CCL HQ database, and if their email is no longer active or it's getting bounced, then they get bounced. So you're right, Chris. I mean, there's some maybe, you know, there's a few dozen who aren't getting emails. Sometimes we have members added to the CCL HQ database who only give us a name and a city, and CCL will put them in there, you know. So you're right. You know, it tells me I'm mailing to 1,000 people, but it may only be 950, you know.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Peace. I'm available to you. I'm happy to talk to you about this stuff. And God knows, it's an exciting time for us as CCL members. So
Could you run our chapter for Craig and I, and then you could just do it.
yeah.